goodness. Welcome in to another episode of Sad Times. Now, I know these past 2.5 years, there's been nothing to be sad about, so that's why I haven't made any episodes. But guess what? We're back. We're back in a big way, and we're going to get to our guest here in a minute. But first, let's start with the sponsor. As always, they stuck through us through the hard times. Fuck cigarettes. That's fuck cigarettes. The cigarettes that you smoke and then you exhale and go, oh, fuck. And that's how they got their name. So next time you're at a 7-Eleven or an 812 or whatever the fuck, pick yourself up some fuck cigarettes. Okay, for those of you who are somehow still listening, let me tell you a little bit about what Sad Times is, if you haven't heard us. So Sad Times is a show that I host. My name is Kevin, and I have a guest on each episode, and we talk about times when that person was sad, was upset, went through some really hard times, and kind of what he or she was feeling, and also how those who love that person reacted, and we kind of try to allow that person to tell their story and the story of those around them during very difficult and sad times, so that we can all feel a little less alone when we're going through our own shit. Because we do all have our own shit. So this is the hope is, we're not here to fix it. We're not trying to fix it. We're just here to kind of talk through people's stories. And today we have got a really good story for you in our big comeback episode. Today we're going to be talking to what's really called one of those everyday heroes, a firefighter by the name of Jay. Jay, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, man. Thanks for being sad. I mean, being here. So let's start right there with what we said. You were a firefighter. Tell me about how long you were a firefighter and how you got into firefighting.
I was firefighter for 28 years, 25 career.
Okay.
Came by it honest. It was a family deal. My father, my oldest brother.
Oh, wow.
Got a twin brother that's still on the job.
Okay.
And so it's kind of just fell right into it.
Yeah. So you said 28 years. So you were, when did you start?
I officially started in January of 1994 while I was in the military. Mm-hmm. And I got onto a volunteer department in Louisiana. Mm-hmm. Did that for about 2 years. Got out of the military, came back home, volunteered for a while when I got home, and then got hired. You got hired? So it was kind of like a temp to hire type of thing? No, it was you've got a test. Mm-hmm. So it's civil service test. So when I got out of the service, got home, and was doing the volunteer work, I was going everywhere taking civil service tests to get on the job.
Gotcha.
So it was probably...
Was that stressful?
It's stressful to a point where it's frustrating.
Okay.
You could end up number one on a list, and you could die on that list. It's 2 years long, and after that 2 years, if they don't have to hire anybody,
wow,
you got to take the test again. And so I was testing everywhere.
It's like Cubs season ticket holders.
Pretty much so,
except for actually means something.
Right.
Okay, right. Okay, so how long from when you started as a volunteer then that you got hired on?
It was about a year and a actually from volunteering on I got hired in July of 1997.
Okay,
so
awesome.
It was just over about 3.5 years.
Okay, now I understand what you said when you said 28, 25 career.
Yeah.
Getcha. Okay. Okay, let's go back to your family. You said you came by it honestly from your family. Tell me about your parents and your siblings.
My dad was 50 years older than I was.
Oh,
born in 1921. Grew up during I was a kid during the Roaring 20s, but Depression era. My mom was born in 1930.
Wow.
My dad served in World War II in the Navy. When he got out of the service, he wound up actually going to northern Wisconsin, worked up there, logger, and he also did a lot of guide service. He's originally from a river forest.
Okay.
And his father worked for the village. I'm not sure exactly when, but somewhere in the late 40s, my dad's parents moved to Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin.
Okay.
And had a farm. My mom was born in Arcadia, Wisconsin in 1930, like you said. They moved back down during the Depression to Fort Atkinson. and my grandfather worked for the Civilian Conservation Corps. So he was doing a lot of the dam work along the Mississippi and Wisconsin.
Okay.
Fate had it to where my parents met, and they got married, and here I am.
Here you are. So how many siblings do you have?
I've got a total of 5.
5. Okay.
I did lose my oldest brother in 2014.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. That's okay. But I total of 5 siblings, 1 twin brother, and then it ranged from 2019, I believe it's 16 years, and then 11 years in between.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were not expected. I like to say we were a vacation trophy.
Vacation trophy. That's good. That's quite an expensive vacation trophy. And so you had said earlier that your oldest brother was a firefighter.
Mm-hmm.
So the one who you lost in 2014.
Yes.
And then that your twin brother is still on the job.
Yes, he's still on the job.
And you, sir, are retired. Correct?
Absolutely retired.
All right. Great. So parents being born in 1921, 1930. Definitely from a different generation.
Oh yeah.
Tell me about that. Like what was it like? Like what kind of stuff could you talk about? Things like sad times in the house, things like that.
A lot of that stuff wasn't talked about.
Okay.
You know, it wasn't. Well, I guess I should say it was the way it sounds from the older 4. They mellowed out before they had us. You know, so they caught the brunt of that growing up.
Yeah.
And but it was still it was fairly strict household. You know, you had Saturday mornings we knew it was time to get up when my mom turned the vacuum cleaner on at 6:30 in the morning. That's time to get up and start doing housework and get your stuff
no cartoons.
Done. Nope. You had to get all your work done before you could do that. Fairly strict. My mom took us to church. My dad didn't have to go for some reason. I don't know why.
You didn't have to go?
No, every now and then he would,
right?
but he was retired at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was already retired. It was strict, but there was love there, but it wasn't said. It wasn't.
There wasn't a lot of "I love you." Like
no, there weren't. The hugs weren't quite there. And I don't remember it really a very touching, open kind of thing. And a lot of stuff was dealt with through. A lot of points are gotten across by a little bit of arguments or nothing was ever said. It was just kind of like done.
And was it kind of like, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but was it kind of like you didn't know you'd messed up until you messed up, and then you found out real quick?
Usually knew real fast when you messed up.
Yeah.
That was one of the old, it could be a crack in the ass or, I remember the one time I really cocked off to my mom. I didn't see Pops coming down behind me down the stairs, and I took one right across the face. Well earned. But, nothing, it was nothing brutal. It was just you got a swat on the ass, and that was it. Knock your shit off. Mm-hmm. And but you knew when you screwed up, and then it was kind of over after that. You had to do something really bad to get grounded. But,
really?
Yeah, it was usually, hey, you fucked up. There's your punishment. You're done.
Okay.
We'll move along.
Real fast, can you tell me why my dad always made me trim bushes when I got in trouble?
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
I don't know, but usually there was something to do along that line, but it wasn't.
Did you do manual labor type shit?
Oh, yeah, but that was when I wasn't in trouble. I was like, hey, we're going to go plant trees. We got to cut lawn. We got to, so.
I was like, it wasn't like I had Bukowski's father, right? I wasn't cutting the grass with scissors, but I was just really trimming up that hedge. Oh. Until one day there just wasn't a hedge. Take that, Dad. Okay. So raised by parents, definitely the youngest of 5. Is that right? 5?
Youngest is 6.
6, excuse me.
6
youngest
total,
of 6.
Yep.
My fault.
By a minute. I claim
by a minute.
That is my claim to fame.
You're the baby.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. And so you came. What branch were you in?
I was in the United States Army.
Oh, awesome. And you were in for 2-3 years?
I was in just over 3.
Okay. Awesome. All right, so let's talk about you. When did you retire?
I retired officially. I could speak today. Officially, it was February 12th.
Of this year, of 2022?
Yes. My last full day as a firefighter was February 11th.
All right, February 12th, Lincoln's birthday. Also the day I bought my first Beatles album. Okay, so now what spurred your retirement?
You know, leading up to that day was a lot, but officially I was done with the job. I could not go back and do it again.
Okay. Tell us about, now you and I have talked obviously before now. Tell us about what steps you took shortly before you retired, where you went, what was offered to you.
Well, we'll start right before a phone call was made.
Sounds good.
At a Christmas party, and things have been building up for probably 3 years to this point in December. Had a Christmas party, was drinking most of the day, and that's usually how I was dealing with shutting my mind down from anxiety and stress. I got to the party, was having a good time, was getting ready to go. One of my guys was really needing to get a ride home. He was way past the limit. So I didn't know his address.
Okay.
I went looking for it. I went back into where the party was. Everybody kind of took it as a joke and thought it was funny. And
that he didn't know his address or couldn't tell you his address?
Yeah, and
he's so drunk.
And they just kind of laughed. And I finally talked him into taking an Uber home. He was dead set on driving.
Yeah.
And they just didn't, I guess, take it as serious as I did. Like, hey, this kid's got to get home. He cannot drive. And then I just kind of saw black, and I don't remember much after that except getting up the next morning.
Kind of saw, you mean like you got like super
I was pissed.
Did you get in a fight, do you know?
No, I remember pushing one of my guys. But I was so fucking mad that this kid needed to get home. I got him talked into the Uber, and nobody took that shit serious. No,
yeah.
I think, and looking back on it all these many months, you know, I think that was me going, you know, this is supposed to be a brotherhood and a sisterhood.
Yeah.
What the fuck, man?
Were you guys, oh gosh, is it called a ladder or, like, what do you call like a group of firefighters? Like, is it station house? Or?
Well, we had 3 stations where I worked.
Okay, so
and this one was just our annual Christmas party, and it was just everybody's having fun, good time, you know. But this one was it. I wanted to make sure this kid got going. Great firefighter, great person. Didn't want to see him get pinched, but stubborn.
Yeah. Sure.
So getting him talked into being able to take that Uber and say, yeah, you're right, I won't drive.
So maybe you felt a little accomplished that you got him to do that, and then it had to be maddening then to go and try to talk to other people, and they're kind of making fun of him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to go back to what you said earlier. You said you were drinking most of the day to quiet your mind. Now, I haven't heard of this drinking, but I need something to quiet my mind. No, I'm just kidding. When you say quiet your mind, what was a good, not good, can you describe what that was like before you started drinking that day, like the day to quiet your mind? Kind of what was going through your head before?
Well, I came off shift. I may have gotten an hour's sleep, if that. Very busy department.
Yeah.
Wow. Very rarely did we sleep through the night. A lot of times, hour, maybe 2 hours of broken up sleep through the night. You get maybe 1 or 2.
And you're on 24, off 48?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes. And at the time, for my position as a relief chief, a floater as we called it, I may work 1 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off. So it all kind of depended at the time. And I think I was on at that time I was on a 1 on, 2 off. So had been up all night. Just ran like crazy for the 24 hours.
Yeah.
So on top of everything that else had been going on for the previous few years, you come off work, you get home, and you try to unwind and relax, but your mind is just spinning, you know, about a certain amount of calls. Okay, what do I got to get ready for the next day? What the hell am I going to walk into at home?
Yeah.
You know, because it had already been a shit show for a while there, too.
At home?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You know, we'll get to that.
And for me. So, it was just so that the anxiety level was cranked.
And I want to go deeper into the job in a moment, too. But then you start drinking, and then do you just feel calmer with the alcohol, or do you feel a sense of euphoria? Kind of what was the release
Honestly, it was having a cocktail and trying to numb yourself, and shut everything down and hopefully not feel as much.
Yeah. So you were the stress, the anxiety, which we're going to get into in a moment with the job and everything, with that type of job. You were just trying to numb all that down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks for answering that. So you get this guy, you see black, you wake up the next morning. What happens next?
I'm sitting out in the kitchen staring at the wall, and I remember thinking this, what the fuck is wrong with you? You are at rock bottom. This shit isn't working anymore.
Okay.
You need to go get help.
Wow. And what made you feel that you were at rock bottom? Was it just that
the night before
so
to where I knew I got so pissed off. I knew that I had shoved one of my guys.
Yeah.
And I don't know what else I said. I know I didn't hit anyone. I know that.
Okay.
But just being like, holy shit, these are the guys and the girls you love. You work with them. You put your life on the line with them every day. And you are so out of it mentally that you did that.
So you said you made a phone call.
Yep. I went in. I sat down with my chief and assistant chief, talked in a very, very stern talking, mostly for me listening. And
he was
to them.
giving you a stern talking.
Yeah, they were dead serious about it. Like, hey, you can't fucking do that.
Even about the night before.
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
And that you've been kind of going down this road. And I go, I know. I need to go get help. And we made the phone call to the Center of Excellence.
Center of Excellence. Is that like in a Disney villain castle? What is the Center of Excellence?
This is out in Maryland. It is through the International Association of Firefighters.
Oh, so okay, so it's a good thing.
Yep, got it. It's a very good thing.
Right, yep.
So it's the IFF Center of Excellence.
Okay,
and they deal with mental health and addiction problems.
Wow.
So at 7:45 in the morning, we made the phone call out to them and set everything up, and was told, "Hey, get out here. You have a bed."
So you're saying anybody who's in the international.
Yep.
What?
International Association of Firefighters.
Anybody who's in that has this as a resource.
Yes, and they're getting ready to open a second one on the West Coast.
Okay.
So it is being used. It's very, it was almost full when I was out there, even during COVID.
Do you know about how many people would constitute full?
66, I believe it was when I was out there. I think they can hold upwards of 70 or 75, something like that.
Okay. So then that leads me to a couple other questions. Like in the firefighting business, is it something that's mental health, something that's talked about? I mean, if they have the Center of Excellence, I believe is what it's called.
It is. People know about it. Yeah. I knew about it from reading our trade magazines through IFFF, Firehouse Magazine, Fire Engineering. It's all over union boards.
Okay.
In the firehouses, but it's not once a year. Maybe twice a year, it'll be talked about when you go to training, and they want to discuss that. But for the most part, no, it's not really. It's still kind of a taboo subject in the fire service.
Okay, so had you thought? So basically, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm trying to follow along here. Basically, you're saying you deal with your shit, and then until you can't deal with it, there's the Center of Excellence, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of engagement in between.
No, it still seems, it's one of those subjects nobody really wants to touch. I don't know if they're afraid of pissing somebody off, hurting somebody's feelings, or maybe feel like ostracizing them. They don't want to take that chance that, hey, I always had an open door policy with my members. And if I saw something that was out of line, that was not them, I wouldn't have a problem pulling them into the office and say, hey, look, I'm worried about you.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I don't know how many other people did that.
So why do you think that is? I mean, this is almost a rhetorical question, but maybe center around the firefighting world. Why do you think that there's still such trepidation, to use a word, to speak about mental health or to even address it? When
I came on in 97 career, I was still on with Vietnam era guys.
Oh.
And those guys were brought up by Korea War veterans, and then those before them World War II. And it was still a you're a man. There weren't a lot. We didn't have any females on at the job at the time, but it was more that old. You don't talk about this shit.
Right.
You shove it down. You get over it and you move on. You go to the next call.
Okay.
So there wasn't a lot of that talk at the coffee table in the morning or dinner.
Right.
You were just, that's how you were taught. And growing up that way, that's how I was taught growing up. So it was already instilled in me when I was 25 and got on the job there.
So do you think maybe you're 24, 25, starting full-time career, I believe it said.
Yeah.
Do you think at that time, let's say when you're 25, you would have felt comfortable saying, God, XYZ just happened. I'm really anxious about it. Or were you still in the place where like, I don't talk about that shit?
At that time, as you're a probationary firefighter for a year.
Oh, okay.
So pretty much you've got 2 eyes and 2 ears and 1 mouth. You open the other 2 and you keep the single one shut for a year, at least. So no, even my first year, I would have never been comfortable. And even after that, it was not you may find one person that you are very close with that you can kind of open up to with that shit. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, it's not even discussed. That's the old school mentality.
Okay.
Rub dirt on it, move along.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, by the way, don't do that. Anybody who's listening, don't rub dirt on anything except for more dirt. Okay. So you mentioned something a few minutes ago. You said, you come off a shift, you don't know what's going to be going on at home, or you're thinking about that call that happened.
Yes.
So I think a lot of people who are listening, they think, okay, firefighters put out fires. Could you give us a broad spectrum of what being a firefighter is like?
Being a firefighter is putting out fires, but it's putting out more than just firefires.
Okay, like what else?
You put out a lot of other fires. If somebody's has an emergency at home, it could be as simple as a cat in a tree. And this is no bullshit. I've had 3 of those calls in my career at least.
Cat in a tree?
Cat in a tree.
Fucking cats.
And one time a cat on a roof that wouldn't come down.
Cat.
People call us for everything. Everything. The dryer broke. Mm-hmm. We do natural gas calls. Any problem.
Like if I said,
I think I smelled gas outside.
You guys have to come with the truck?
Yep.
Okay.
So we do everything from, soup to nuts. And
so you see all different various stages of human life.
Yes. Medical calls from the sniffles to the full-on heart attacks to the shootings and stabbings, on top of fighting fires, like I said, car accidents. We run everything.
You're at, so every car accident, every shooting, if first responders are called, there will be firefighters there?
Yes, there will be at least 1 ambulance, depending on what's needed.
Yep.
Dispatched. The district engine or truck company, depending on where it would be at for us.
Okay.
And then normally when I was a chief, they would send the chief along to run the scene to make sure, hey, we need more help. Boom. I'd radio back, get more help.
Okay. So you're saying like it is possible in a single night you could go from a suicidal cat on a roof to maybe a 42-year-old man who had no prior anything and he had a heart attack.
Yes.
And I'm going to riff on that a little bit. So like, it's almost like you get there. Do you sometimes get there before the ambulance or the EMT or something?
Yeah, it's easier. It was easier for me in the buggy. A lot of times I was there before, depending on where I was at in town, I could be there before the engine, truck, or ambulance. I could be first walking right in.
So you walk in, you find something that is obviously unexpected, grief-inducing. Likely there's family there, and they're going to... In that situation, I have to imagine the first person who walks through that door, they're just like, please help, and everything.
Yes. And you have to really survey the situation. Mm-hmm. You especially if you're getting there first, or even if it's the medics, firefighter medics that are getting there, or the engine company, you have to make sure the scene's safe for everybody to be working in first. So depending on the call, because you never know. And when
that's a stress in and of
families
itself.
In distress like that and their loved ones down, you never know what anybody's going to do, emotions. So, if I'd walk in and I would see somebody down, usually PD would be rolled with us to the scene. So hopefully they get there about the time I did. And they could kind of get control of the family a little bit. And then, I could check the patient out, see what's going on, and then radio to my ambulance that's coming in. Hey, this is what I have. And then get some information on the patient that's down from the family as best I could.
Yeah.
Allergies, medications, when was the last time you saw, that kind of thing. So I could pass that on to my crews.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, a lot of times I was first in on a lot of shit.
You say so, like people, not even like I'm a person who had a health problem, but like people trying to hurt other people.
Oh yeah, yep. A lot of times first in on shootings, stabbings. As soon as we get the word, as I'm making a scene, we always stage PD would go in and clear on those as best they could. But a lot of times PD was already clearing as I was pulling up. So I would go in to assess, see what's going on. And so you're getting a full gamut of, holy Christ, this guy's got 4 bullet holes in him, So you kind of get used to it, but you don't realize you're not used to it. It'll burn in your head. It'll burn in your head.
So there's a new segment on Sad Times that's brought to you by Fuck Cigarettes called The Most Cliched Question of the Show. So we're going to get to that segment right now. Jay, do you ever get used to that type of stuff?
No.
Okay.
No, you don't.
I had a little fun with that question.
Yeah, but you think you do, but you really don't.
So what does that mean?
You think you got a handle on it. You think, okay, got done with that call, moving along.
Yeah.
But subconsciously, it's spinning in your head. No, it's some part of that call or some part of that call may remind you of another call, but it's always building. It's always going into a vase or a jar.
Uh-huh. And
you take that jar and you shove it down, you pack it full, and you throw it up on a shelf. And I love using this. This is from Bill Burr.
Uh-huh.
You put that jar on a shelf.
Yeah.
And you wait and see what function you're going to when that jar falls off that shelf and explodes.
That's very good.
So you shove it in.
Yeah.
And you just move on. You think you're okay with it. It's coming up. One day down the road, it's going to show back up.
Is it prevalent maybe where you're going from one call that's maybe particularly heinous to another call that you're next to, one of your coworkers and you start to talk about it like that was horrible and I can't unsee that or anything like that? Or
it would be more of get back from, if you went from call to call to call. Yeah. As a chief, I tried to go down. And this is what I always did, was I always worried about taking care of other people.
Yeah.
Not worried about me. That's what first responders do. We take care of everybody else. Uh-huh. So we'd have, whatever, it was a bad call. I would go to the firehouse and talk to that crew, the ambulance and the engine company or truck company, and ask them, how you guys doing? Everybody okay? Anybody need to talk? Anybody screwed up enough to where you want to go, just come talk to me.
Can I ask you something? Mm-hmm. Before you became a first responder, do you feel like that you always felt that you needed to be there for other people and like that was your job? Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
I always like to try to take care of others before I would. And I didn't think about it. And this is, learned about over the last, year for me. But I never thought about it that I didn't take care of myself. I worried about others.
And something this is so shitty, but something I hadn't thought about until I first spoke with you is first responders, I can't imagine it's easy to learn to not be a first responder when you've gone home.
No, it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't stop. There was a time, and I lived in the city I worked in. Mm-hmm. And, oh, God, it had to be 2019. Well, me and the wife are sitting there watching TV. It's almost 3 years ago. It was in December, and I remember somebody just pounding on my front door. Swing the door open, like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And it's my neighbor 3 houses down yelling, there's a house on fire up the street. So I peek outside, and sure as shit, there's flames blowing through the roof.
Fuck.
So grab a quick coat, start running up the street, and here come the fire department, and ran up and Asked the chief on duty. He's like, "What do you need? Do you need anything?" He's like, "I need to know where my water is." So yeah, I was going right. I was like, "What do you need?"
Yeah, and that's excuse me. That's another thing I think we not in the specialty trades or just the regular sad people like myself take for granted are people like, let's just say, obviously firefighters. Let's say doctors. My sister's a nurse practitioner. I'm a hypochondriac. It works out. Veterinarians, they're trying to have their life, and then, oh, you're a veterinarian? Look at his eye. Can you look at his ear?
Yeah.
Same
my
thing.
gerbil's sick. My hamster's not doing well.
Right. But you're conditioned as a first responder, even when you're watching, I'm going to go ahead and say Below Deck Mediterranein.
That would be my wife.
That would be your wife. Okay. Whenever you're watching television, even if somebody's like, I mean, House on Fire is pretty intense, but like they know to come to you. Oh, Jay over there lives there. He's a firefighter. Go. He knows what to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And then living in the city you work in, that's the other fear you have is, okay, especially when a dispatch address comes in that I know, that it's one of my friends. It's one of the people that I know. And you hear it and you're like, fuck. And now it's because somebody you always move at a high rate of speed and want to get there, but it's like, oh shit, what's going on?
Yeah. The not knowing.
You always go 0 to 100.
Yeah.
But on those, sometimes you might go 0 to 150.
So you have a Tesla.
So you're flying. You're just like, holy shit, I hope this isn't bad.
So, do you feel like you could tell people like, hey, somebody's like, what's it like? What's it really like? You're like, oh, no. Do you feel like if say you were on a podcast and I were to press you and ask you, like, what's the worst call you've ever seen? Do you like feel comfortable sharing things like that? Or how do you relate to people since you've been out about the stress of the job?
I've always said this.
Related to people.
The 28 years I did it, now it's however many months, 10 months since I retired almost.
Yes, sir.
My nightmares are my nightmares. I will not share my nightmares with anyone. Those are mine. Okay. I've shared a couple with my wife, but I won't even share a lot with her. What I've seen, that's, I don't want to. You don't want to
put that on anybody else.
No, I don't want to put that on anybody else. And I just want to keep my nightmares to myself. I will talk to a therapist about it if I have to.
Yeah.
If it's really coming up, I will talk to them. But those are mine. Those are my personal nightmares, and nobody really needs to know that. They know it's a dangerous job. They know you see some shit out there, but nobody really needs to know that.
Okay, I think that's well said. So then at the Center of Excellence, I mean, how intense was the work that you did there? Can you tell us about kind of the day-to-day there?
Oh, yeah. I tell you what, that was scariest thing I ever did, I think.
Was going there?
Yep. Was making a phone call and then getting on a plane to go out there. That might be the scariest thing I did. I had to admit I needed help.
Yeah.
I also had to admit that I'm not Superman. I can't take care of anybody else till I take care of me. So that was a very hard pill to swallow for me. And I didn't know if I was going to have enough strength and courage to get on that plane. My wife dropped me off at the airport and couldn't go in. So I'm like, well, I could do one of two things here. I can go sit in an airport bar, have a few cocktails and haul ass, or I could just get on that goddamn plane and fix myself.
Yeah.
So got on that goddamn plane and went to go fix myself. When I got in there, scared shitless. You're 50-year-old man going to walk into this place. What am I going to find here?
Right.
Is this going to be truly sad camp? Is this going to, I don't know what to expect.
Sand camp? What's
sad
that?
Camp.
Oh, sad camp.
Yep. So, and I have some friends that I had talked to before I went out to kind of get the lowdown, but you really can't, you can listen to it. You just don't know what to expect. You're like, okay, this might be okay. You're scared.
You think it's because you don't, it's so not talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And along with your own feeling like I'm not, as you said, I'm not Superman, all that. Okay. So you get out there scared. You said the scariest thing you ever done. Tell us like kind of the intake process and then kind of the process of being there.
You get in, you sign in at the time do your COVID test.
Sure.
So,
hey.
Lucky that time that I went out. You get out there, you go into in-processing. So you are with a couple nurses. They're doing everything. Vitals, they're asking you questions. Do you want to harm yourself? When was your last drink? So they're really making sure everything is going.
Was drinking something that you wanted to address there as well?
I thought about, well, maybe I do. I never got up needing one.
Yeah.
I never needed one to get going.
Yeah.
I never had withdrawals, anything. Nothing like that. I just drank to numb.
Okay.
So I got out there, they're like, do you have any withdrawal symptoms? So for the first 72 hours, you are in a separate area, and there may be some other people that come in. So you may be with those folks that are just checking in as well with you. But for 72 hours, it's kind of watched. There's a nurse's station right outside the rooms you're in. And then you are going to go and start the next day seeing counselors. You're going to get assigned a counselor. You're going to speak to 2 doctors there, and you're going to answer the same goddamn questions 40 times in 3 days. But it's all done to make sure nothing is changing, and they want to make sure that you aren't going through withdrawals or that you're not bullshitting them.
Yeah. What's like one of those questions?
This last time, every morning you get up, we take temperatures. You get your blood pressures taken, and then it's a questionnaire. And you would answer that every day, and they would be really monitoring your temperature and your heart rate and your blood pressure.
Okay.
And they could tell. I went through with some really banged up people. But the thing is even the banged up ones that, where I was scared to death, it was like, no, I'm going in there, I'm going to fix myself. I'm not going to bullshit anyone. Even the ones that were so banged up in there were honest, and everybody, even the new person, because where we did all that morning stuff and night stuff, it was the same thing. Everybody that's already in the houses, and I'll talk about those in a little bit. Everybody would come up to that nurse's station morning and night, and they'd have all that done. So you're meeting everybody, and you were eating with them. You just hadn't started anything yet. But you got to meet them, but everybody's caring about you. How are you?
Yeah.
Do you need anything? So it really was mind-blowing. I felt comfortable probably within the first 3 hours. Like, holy shit.
That had to be such a relief.
Oh, my God, it was.
Yeah.
It really was. It really was. And then, you get lunch.
Yeah.
That's where I met a ton of people. They just come up to you and they're like, hey, how are you? They introduce yourself. We're doing a fire tonight. You guys want to come? You want to come down? This is where it's at. It's over here. They show you around.
Doing a fire?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So they would have bonfires almost every night.
Oh.
And you wouldn't have staff out there at the bonfire.
Well, they had you.
All of us there are firefighters and paramedics. So
I was really confused. Like, I didn't know if you went through fire drills or something.
No, it was. This is without anybody truly knowing it. This was therapy, and probably the best therapy I had.
So you guys were able to be out there. You said no staff.
There's every now and then somebody might pop down and say, "Hey," but no, there was no staff there.
And you just kind of would talk to each other.
You light a bonfire and you kind of get in a conversation, and some of the most serious shit and traumas came out there, and a lot of tears shed, but a lot of laughs. But it was more peer counseling with each other and getting shit out.
It's kind of like a safe space to share those nightmares you were talking about.
Very safe space, because everybody that is out there is there for one reason or another because of the job.
Sure.
And shared experiences. There's where I could tell my nightmares.
Yeah,
because people understand. People have lived them. It wouldn't
be burdening them.
Yes. So it was a shared experience of my own people that we could just talk, and that's outside of all the therapy we did.
Yeah. Sorry, you kept saying shared experience, and producer Lisa, who sounds like Brent. No, I'm just kidding. Brent is a huge Kevin Smith fan and made me think of Chasing Amy and the shared experience.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, is a shared moment. Excuse me. Thank you, producer Brent. Okay, so you have bonfires. All right, so once you get done with the, I think you said it's about 72 hours.
72-hour intake process. You'll start probably about, depending on when you get there. You know, I got there towards the weekend, so Saturday, Sunday was kind of mellow. Monday, I started right into therapy. And I was assigned a clinician, my own clinician, but like I said, you're still going to talk to a couple other doctors. But then you start into 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, group sessions.
8 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yep, group sessions. And group sessions on how so many different things they go over on how to cope, on learning everything you can about mental health, and you know it goes through every step and every different thing that's going on, and it's hard to explain just how eye-opening it was.
Do they even go through, like, when you feel anxious in your brain is doing this, the amygdala is and all this stuff.
Yes.
Fuck the amygdala, by the way.
And they go through all of that. They do, they will break stuff down, what causes the traumas, how you can deal with traumas, anxiety, steps to overcome. I still have a binder at home, and I did forget to bring it today. I wanted to bring it, and it's sitting at home.
That's quite all right.
But it's, and that's not everything I saved. I saved everything that I got out there.
About an inch thick, you'd say?
Easily. Yeah, and that's just stuff for me.
Okay.
That I saved. I probably got that thick of stuff.
Yeah, so a couple inches. So you, and you still use that to this day?
I still go back to it. And out there, they will do meditation. We meditated probably twice a week. 30 minutes, hour. They teach you how to meditate, how to breathe, okay, here comes the anxiety and the stress level here. Okay, how are you going to ground yourself and bring it back to center? Yeah. So they really did it was the best 26 days of my life.
So you're there 26 days?
26 days.
How often you said you had a one-on-one clinician?
Yes, that would be twice a week.
And for how long?
That was probably about 2 weeks for me. And then it went to once a week, unless she had to talk to me about something. But just to sit down, see how things are going, And
how long were the sessions? Like an hour?
About an hour, 45 minutes usually, because they've got, depending on how many people are out there, they're assigned a certain amount of people. So, but a good 45 minutes.
Okay, so 26 days seems like an odd number to be out there.
The average stay, from what I was told when I got out there, was about 35.
35.
And when I got out there, I was one of the oldest guys out there.
You were
oldest persons.
What would you say is the average age?
At that point, I'm going to say probably between 27 years old and 35 years old was most of the people out there.
Wow.
Which is wow, but how awesome is that?
It's wonderful because how much of this do you think is because in their generation, they feel more comfortable talking about these things?
I think it absolutely has everything to do with it.
Yeah.
How they're brought up, how they were, they could share feelings. They know how to say I love you and hugs and all that shit, which is great. I wouldn't trade my childhood for anything, but I'm amazed and I'm so impressed by those kids that were out there. As a 50-year-old, I get to call them kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was kind of taken back the first couple of days when I was meeting all these young kids out there. But I was so proud of them that they stepped up and knew, hey, I gotta take care of this shit. This shit isn't good. I gotta go fix this.
Did you feel? I know you said you were afraid. Did you feel shame about being there at any point?
Not at all.
No.
Not after I made the phone call. Before the phone call, yeah. After I made the phone call, I was more just down on myself. How did you let yourself get this far? You couldn't figure this shit out.
Why can't you do better, Jay? God
right.
Damn it.
I mean, I beat the living shit out of myself daily. And I didn't get out there. I made a call on the 18th of December. I didn't get out there until January 6th.
Wow.
So it was just an ass kicking I gave myself, and God love my wife at the time, because I put her through fucking hell, but so supportive, so got your back. You're going to do great. You got this. I'm so proud of you. I couldn't ask for anybody better. She was just building me up as best she could.
Can I ask you a few things about that?
Absolutely.
About your marriage?
Absolutely.
How would you say, I know you mentioned earlier that this definitely, what am I going to get when I get home based on the trouble you're having? So how did the struggles you were having with mental health at work affect your marriage?
It got to the point where, we were in marriage counseling.
Okay.
In my mind, I was, I wasn't ready to say, fuck it, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
But at times I was just like, she doesn't get this. She doesn't understand.
She's get
always up my ass about shit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And really, it wasn't that. It was me.
Yeah.
But I was projecting all my bullshit on her, that it was coming from her to me. It wasn't. It was my bullshit in my own head. But I dealt with it in a way with her, of her giving it to me. So me thinking in my head of, you're fucked up. You're doing some dumb shit. Why the fuck can't you, get home on time or not have drinks or whatever?
Yeah. That
was me saying it to myself. And once in a while she would, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But even when she wasn't, I took it as that's what she was saying.
Isn't it, let's just call it maddening that, you could sit and take a class and you probably went over projection when you were at the COE, and somebody could tell you what is projection, and you can write it out in a paragraph. Yeah. You're like, that's exactly it. But then you're like, well, I don't do that. Right? Isn't
absolutely. No, that wasn't me.
Yeah, it's mind bending.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Where it's just, that's not me. That's somebody else. That's not my shit. And it turns out, it's your shit.
Which I don't do that, by the way, everyone. Okay, yes, I do all the time.
At least you haven't projected on Brent. So
no, never, ever, ever would I do that. Okay, so like you said, like you weren't ready to leave. You guys were in marriage counseling.
She was walking on eggshells and broken glass every day around me.
Was she afraid to just what would be?
I could just pop at a moment's notice.
And she's like, I was just getting the towels out of the laundry or something
it could
like
be,
that.
it could be that I asked, what do you want to do for dinner? Or
she would ask you that and you would snap at her?
It could be anything. It could be anything. I was a fucking mess. Mentally, I was a fucking mess. I was stressed out of my mind. The anxiety was through the roof. And I just didn't know what the hell was going on with me. I thought it was marriage. Never thought of the job. Never put two and two together. This could be the job.
Yeah.
It's got to be my personal life. This is the most amazing job in the world.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oops.
So do you think that, she's walking on eggshells. You're, as you said, popping off at any minute. Do you think that, I think I just heard you say, well, it can't be the job. So you weren't even considering the job for a long time.
No, never even crossed my mind. It was what was.
But you had the Bill Burr, the jars.
Yeah.
From those bad calls, and they were all up there on the shelf.
Yeah.
And maybe something happens with your wife, and one of them falls, right?
Yep. Or Christmas party.
Exactly.
Or any kind of family trip, whether it be with the wife or with members of the family fishing trip. It could be anything that would just explode, or hanging out with friends that, playing hockey, going to a tournament, doing something like that. It could just show up out of anywhere. I was kind of a fucking nightmare.
And this came out as anger mostly?
Yeah. Mine really came out as anger.
Okay.
Anger. I would be sad and depressed on my own.
Right.
When she was at work and I had the house to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Then I get sad and depressed, and then when she got home, she didn't know what she was walking into. Well, just one wrong thing, and look out. Even the dogs were like walking on glass around me. They would, oh shit, he raised his voice again down the hallway. Yeah, they didn't want to come near me. So I was a treat. I was a real goddamn treat.
Yeah, it sounds like. How did your depression and sadness and depression take shape when you were home alone?
That's where the anxiety, the mind would run and run and run. And I was also at the same time going through COVID doing emergency management shit for the city.
Oh, geez, yeah.
So, pulling kind of two jobs, and now I don't have any, and at the time you couldn't get the hell out and go bullshit with people because nothing was open.
Right.
And Zooms just don't get it. It's one thing to have drinks and laugh with everybody on Zooms, but that's just not like being there.
No, right. Yeah.
So I would sit and think and mull over shit and things that I thought I fucked up or made mistakes on and past, once in a great while, it's like, well, you already ruined one marriage. You were on the way to ruin number two.
Whoa. You'd already been married before
I'd been married in 2000, divorced in 2004.
Oh.
And it was, that was a lot of different stuff. There wasn't any of the anxiety or anything back then. That was different. But already failed marriage, you're like, Jesus Christ, really?
I mean, this is a really pointed question. I've never been married because I know I would fail. My question is, what did you have a lot of shame with being somebody who left a marriage or had a failed marriage?
At the time when I was going through all my shit, yes. At the time I got divorced back then, no, it was for the best.
Okay.
So it was for the best, but when you're going through all this shit, even knowing my divorce was for the best, I was beating myself up over it. Failed marriage.
Yeah.
Your second marriage may be failing. Your friendships, some of your friends are gone, don't want to hang around you, so you just pound the shit out of yourself.
Now, what would happen if let's say you and we didn't work together, let's say we were good friends, okay? And I came over to you and I described to your house one night or something, and I described everything that you had just gone through. Would you say the same type of shit that you say to yourself to me as a friend? Would you call me a failure and all that stuff?
No.
Why do you think that is?
I think we're always harder on ourselves than we are on anybody else. We give everybody else a benefit of the doubt. Well, we never give ourselves a benefit of the doubt. And I think that's just because we expect something more out of ourselves and be at a higher level.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
I have a hard time telling somebody that I see they would have to be truly fucking up before I got on them.
Yeah.
And been like, what the fuck are you doing? Knock your shit off. This is what you're doing. Otherwise, I'd be trying to support them and say, well, that may not be a good idea. Maybe you ought to try this.
But you were never supporting yourself.
I never supported myself. I always was just browbeat the shit out of myself.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I always blame my wife for. Oh, you're browbeating me again. No, she wasn't browbeating. I was just in the middle of browbeating myself.
Yeah.
And not listening to what she was saying. Yeah, I already figured it out what she was going to say before she said it.
And when you're going through that tumultuous, that in your brain, right? It's so overpowering.
Oh, yeah. Sleep was, even outside the firehouse, as a relief chief, I might be off for 6-7 days. I'd still only get maybe 3 hours of sleep a night. I would wake up in the middle of the night and mind was gone. It was already racing. Shit, I got to do this. I got to do this. Oh, crap, I can't forget this. Oh, what the hell did I do here? That was a fuck up. It was just off to the race. The minute my eyes opened up, I was going.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't get back to sleep.
What were your coping mechanisms?
During the day and into the evening, it would, I'd be like, screw it, I'm having a drink.
Okay.
That's the only thing. Smoked. I quit smoking in 2008. I started back up again probably around 2017. Wow. Where I really remember looking back on it. That's why I started back, the anxiety and the stress.
Yeah.
And so I started then, and I officially opened up and told the boss lady at home that, you mentioned one night we were in a hot tub and you had a few drinks and you smoked every third day at the firehouse. I'm like, yeah. Yeah. and this is a story. This is how I finally smoked in front of her again.
Okay.
It was Thanksgiving 21 and I was off. We were going to go to downtown for sushi. I won't name the sushi restaurant.
Okay. McDonald's.
Yeah. Fillet of fish for everyone.
That's right.
Just raw. So they said, call at 4. We call Wednesday. Yeah, we're open. Call at 4. We'll be open then. And we're going to drive down, pick it up, come home, have sushi, or stay there, whatever you decide to do. So start calling at 4 o'clock. 4:15. 4:30. I flip over to social media, and they decided at close on Wednesday night that they were not going to open on Thanksgiving.
Oh.
So that's just like throwing a match into a big shed of dynamite.
Yeah.
And I lost my shit. Like, we don't have any goddamn food here. This is bullshit. Our plans, I just was fucking hot.
Yeah.
God love her to this day. She handled this perfectly. It'll be okay. Something will work out, hon. Don't fucking ruin the night. Go out to the garage and have a cigarette. You got it.
Smart.
I was like, yeah, and looking back on that, because we were kind of laughing about this past Thanksgiving this year, and we were giggling about it, and she was absolutely right. I said, you were, one of her best friends. They, for some reason, there's 3 of them in their family, they got 5 meals delivered to them. We went over and they're like, hey, we got 2 extras. You want to come get them? We're like, fuck yeah.
Worked out.
She was right. It worked out. But the best play that she could do to calm me down was go out to the garage and have a smoke.
And it's interesting. You said this was 21?
Yep.
So this would have been, if you called on December 18th, this would have only been 24 days before you had called. So you were...
Oh, I was... Oh. Yeah. I won't repeat some of the things I said because I remember them.
Yeah.
I'd only had it, didn't have any cocktails yet. And...
Is it because you're a Lions fan or...
Oh, God, no.
No, just kidding.
Well, yeah, I was... Oh, she played it. She did well.
That's... Okay, so when you made the call, did your wife know you were going to call this place?
Oh, God, no. No, I went in.
She didn't know?
Nope, she had no idea. And I'm hoping that's the last trauma I ever give her. So I went in, talked to the chief and the assistant chief, and I took my ass chewing there and made the phone call, and it was 2 hours. I was in the office 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got to be 9:30 pushing 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And I get a text, where are you? What are you doing? I said, I'll explain when I get home. Because I didn't want to say anything over the phone. I want to tell her to her face, and didn't even think that she's already thinking I'm coming home to tell her we're getting divorced. That's it. We're done. And so she was already in tears when I walked through the door. And I said, I need you to sit down. I need you to listen. And then I told her, I'm checking myself into the Center of Excellence out in Maryland, and I'm going to be gone for at least 35 days is the average stay. So I'm leaving, and I'm going to go get help. I can't do.
What was her reaction?
Then they went from tears of holy fuck, he's going to divorce me to, I think more just, oh, thank God.
Did you then say, go out into the garage and have a cigarette?
Yeah, I should have.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't that good, that quick. But yeah, it was more tears of relief and like, okay, thank God he's realized he's hit rock bottom. He can't go any further down than this. Okay.
God, that had to be, and like you said, before you made the call, you were feeling shame, but then after you'd made the call, you're like, I've done it. Now, we weren't at the airport yet.
No, I just got to get on that plane.
But the relief that must have been in that room with the two of you.
Yeah, it was like, shit. I could kind of breathe. I think she could breathe a little bit more.
Okay.
But then, we still got that time to where I get out to Maryland and start work. And I'd already had a therapist for, about 1.5 years, 2 years prior to that. I was talked to about once a week.
Yeah.
And that just wasn't working, and I stayed in contact.
What brought you to see that therapist? What made you do that?
A very close friend of mine on the job went and talked to a therapist and opened up to me about it.
Okay.
And said, hey, I'm talking to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, shit. Maybe I ought to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe I ought to do that. Can I get the number?
Okay.
And I had known the name from those once or twice a year things from the fire department for years.
Uh-huh.
And I made the call, and I'd been about 1.5 years or so, 2 years dealing with a therapist. Mm-hmm. It just I wasn't making any progress. I was making a little bit here, a little bit there. But I needed to be in
more
inpatient therapy, intensive, and to learn new skills. Learn coping skills, learn how to take care of myself mentally.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting on those once a week, sessions.
So 26 days, you finished. Tell me what it's been like since then.
It has been the most amazing 10 months that I think I've had in years.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
The marriage is phenomenal. You know, and we were out there. We also had counseling through them. So actually, I wound up with a marriage counselor out there, my own clinician on top of all the other clinicians that we were with.
So wait, did she come out there? Your wife?
That was all by Zoom. Yeah, it was all Zoom.
Got it.
Nobody's coming on that campus, and you know, because there were some COVID scares out there, and it had kind of run through, but it was really good. We got. I think she knew that I was on the right track that first time I got my phone out there. I got to make a phone call home.
And how
my cell phone.
Soon after you got there did you get to do that?
I got there on Saturday. It was probably 5 days. I think 5 days.
Now, did she know, okay, I'm going to be out there and I'm not going to be able to contact you?
Yeah, she knew that, for 72 hours for sure, you're not getting a call.
Okay.
And it depends on what the phone times are. I said, I don't know. I'll let you know if I can. So I got to call her first time on a Wednesday. And we had a conversation, good, decent conversation. Mm-hmm. Talked about stuff, but after we hung up, I was thinking, I was like, shit. I don't want to get kind of into this same old shit we're talking about. So the next time I called was on a Friday. Mm-hmm. And we were talking, I'm like, look, we need to set up some boundaries when we talk. And we have certain things we should talk about, certain things we should not talk about. And it was silent on the phone. And then it was kind of her being pissed. And I'm like, no, I want to set up the boundaries because of, and I think she just was so used to all the shit before I got out there. She thought something was coming, I'm pretty sure. But all of a sudden she stopped. She's like, wait a minute, you're talking about boundary? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, I did not expect to hear that out of your mouth.
Yeah.
So she was kind of taken back by it. I said, were you getting pissed? She's like, yeah, I was getting pissed. I thought I didn't even hear you said boundaries. So she's like, holy shit. She goes, this is kind of good so far.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah,
start.
it is.
Yeah.
So we get back. It was great to see her at the airport. First person I saw when I got home. And it just felt so much lighter. And she'd gone through the whole thing with me, and we'd see each other on the Zoom calls once a week for counseling and shit. But it was nice to get home. And then it was a little bit of getting used to one another again, because she was used to how I was before. I had been gone almost a month.
Yeah, right. It's like,
so now it's like, okay, we gotta, I'm not quite that asshole I used to be. I mean, I'm never gonna stop being an asshole. But not just a huge, gigantic asshole.
Just a note, this is an audio medium. When he said, I'm never going to stop being an asshole, he looked at Brent.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I think I need a fuck cigarette.
Yeah, that's right. Right. But that's interesting, though. But it's like, okay, maybe I don't have to be tiptoe, right?
Yeah, and it's been great. I mean, we left, I got home February 2nd. And we took off out of town, probably retired the 12th. We were out of town almost immediately at the end of February for a week. Just gone. Let's go. Let's get the hell out of here. It was just Wisconsin. It was a fundraiser for the Honor Guard up there. And but we got away for a week.
Yeah.
We came home, and then we started traveling. Then it was like, let's go. Let's pack the dogs up. Let's get the hell out of here. So it was nice that we got 2 beagles.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So we got to start getting away, and it was just us. We did 10 days in Phelps, Wisconsin, in a cabin, kind of in the middle of the woods. And it was just us in this huge house, this huge cabin.
Yeah.
And we were getting to know each other again and learning. She was relearning me, and I was learning all the shit that I just didn't realize for a few years from her. Mm-hmm. So it was really good for us.
Were you able to cope more with that after, obviously, the coping skills you learned, but like she starts, did you ever have a point where she says, well, and I know she wasn't meaning to pile on or anything, but she's like, well, you did this and this and this, where you started to beat yourself up again? Because
no, I actually listened to it, because she would say, I don't want to pile on you. I don't want to bring up this shit from the past. And I would tell her, no, I need to know how you felt. I need to know how you felt. I don't want you to keep it inside. And then you start taking those jars and stuffing them full of shit and put them on the shelf. And now you are doing the exact same thing I did. I want you to tell me how big of an asshole I was. I can handle it. I know how to cope. I know that you have to talk to me as much as I needed to talk to you.
That's such a powerful thing.
A year ago, fuck you. Now, no, this is, I am so amazed the last year of my life of how much I learned, what I can do, what I can think when I know, just learning how to get up every morning, check in with yourself. Huge. You wake up in the morning, I'll wake up, and it could be in the first 2 minutes. It could be in the first 10, making coffee and stuff. And it might be when I stroll outside and have a smoke out back. But it's like, how are you feeling today? All right. Okay, I might be a little bummed, maybe a little anxious about something or a little sad, whatever it is. It's like, okay, that's okay to feel that way. And that's not going to run your whole day. Wow. You will come out of it. So then you're like, okay, could have been a dream, something that you don't remember having, during the night that might have brought something up. And it could just be that you are, just a little out of whack in the morning.
Yeah.
But I've learned that 3 times a day I check in with myself.
Okay.
Mornings, afternoon, mid-afternoon, and then before I go to bed.
Okay.
Because I want to be able to be honest with myself before I go to bed and realize, okay, today was a good day, but I'm a little pissy about this. But that isn't anything. Or however, because that way I can go to sleep at night and I've already dealt with it.
Okay.
So it was really good. That's one of the skills I learned out there is to check in with yourself a few times a day. See where you're at mentally. And that was after learning that there's more feelings out there than just anger. When I learned anger.
There are?
Yeah, right. That's what I always thought. No, there's just anger. But yeah,
Stop shaking your head, Brent.
It was amazing. And had I brought that damn binder.
Yeah.
But there's the whole wheel of emotion that they show you, and then it leads anger to this, to this, and it was just, it's a miracle factory. I know at the beginning I didn't know if there's going to be sad camp or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a miracle factory.
Sad camp is when you go canoeing with Kevin. Is this the right, so I pulled this up.
Yes.
I have my iPad here for those of you not watching.
Yes, that is the IFF Center of Excellence.
And this is for any firefighters in the
anyone that is that's in the International Association.
Okay. I might put this in the link to this in the show notes.
Yes.
Just for anybody who may come across this and listen to it. So
yes.
I think the last question I have for you is, why did you want to come on Sad Times?
It's still a taboo subject, and it's not just in the fire service or for first responders. Even the military, but the military is getting better at. But we're all in the same boat.
Yeah,
where it's okay, but it's not widely discussed. It's not really pushed.
Yeah,
it's not talked about.
Yeah,
amongst each other or from the higher ups down or vice versa. If I can come on here as now a 51-year-old man that was brought up the old school way in the fire service and in life by old school parents that realize I need help, and then I can learn these skills, and a lot of them that still help me to this day that I never knew for 50 years on this planet. If I could get one person to make that phone call or to make a phone call to just a therapist, whether they're military, first responder, or any civilian out there that's listening that doesn't think that there's any hope, holy shit, there's hope out there. There's avenues out there to get help. It's the most important thing, that if I could get one person to realize, oh shit, if he could do it and find that courage, the courage is in you. You just got to get past all that other bullshit that's going on in your head.
Right.
Anyone can make that call. Firefighter, former military, I don't mean shit.
Yeah.
Everybody's got it in them. They have that courage to do it.
Man, I think that is extremely well said, like extremely well said. And, Jay, 28 years of service in the firefighting business, 3 years or so of service in the military. Thank you for your service.
It was an honor and a pleasure.
All of that you've given back to society and community. And thank you for being so open and honest today with us. And again, I think you really summed it up really, really perfectly. there at the end, that everybody has the courage. You just got to get past that shit in your head. You know, I think it's admirable and wonderful that you came on here. I really appreciate it. Anything else you want to say before we...
I'd like to thank you and Brent for having me on here.
Yeah, of course.
It's special. I really appreciate that. I also want to say, too, for me, when I left the job, it wasn't because I hated the job.
Yeah.
It wasn't because I couldn't physically do it anymore. I could do it mentally, probably. I just didn't want to take that chance of taking a step backwards.
So you took care of yourself before you were taking care of other people.
Yes. So take care of yourselves first. Otherwise, you can't help anybody else. And that goes for everyone.
I think the way that, yes, that's exactly right. I'm still learning that. I think the way I say it is there's always room for kindness and grace, even with yourself.
Amen. I'm stealing that too.
Yeah, you've got, and I forget that every single day, but I try to remind myself of that. So, you know, just what Jay said, if you're out there, you are a firefighter, you are listening to this, it will be in the show notes, the website for the Center of Excellence, you know, or please reach out to anyone that you know, give them a call. I like to end, Jay, I want to thank you for your time today. Really, really appreciate your story and everything you shared.
Glad I could share it.
I want to end on a more humorous note. You had said when you went to make the call, your wife texted you like 2.5 hours later, like, where are you? And you said, I'll let you know when I get home, right? To all my friends out there with OCD friends, if somebody who has OCD, like say me, says, where are you and why aren't you at home? And you say, if you really want to make my day, you should say, I'll let you know when I get home. And that's my little, thumbs up to the OCD community. No, I'm just kidding though. But really appreciate your time today, Jay. Brent, as always, thanks for nothing. And thank you everybody very much for listening. This is our 20th episode, or at least I believe it's going to be. And we have 19 before. You can find us in any of your podcasts. And yeah, just remember, there's always room with yourself and with others for kindness and grace. And really appreciate you listening. And I hope you have a good day.
You've been listening to a Fourth Hand Joint.